Welcome back team, how's it going? Today we're going to be covering the number one Fiora player in the world at the moment, 14 Fiora, who recently had rank 3 on the Korean solo queue ladder. We're going to be going through his runes, his itemization, his laning phase, and pretty much everything you need to know of why he's having so much success on this champion. So if that sounds good to you, then let's get started. Now we're going to be starting things off with the rune pages, but before we dive in, if you're curious about what they ban Ambessa every single game, which makes a lot of sense. It's one of the most popular top lane champs in Korea, and it is a nightmare for Fiora to deal with in lane, really hard to get vitals, and survive the short trades that Ambessa has available to her. Now, as for your runes, they take Grasp of the Undying pretty much every single game, I would say over 95% of the time. They take Demolish, Second Wind, and Revitalize, that never changes, same with Cosmic and Cookies, and Attack Speed, AD, and Flat HP, they never change anything in this page. I was surprised at first that they didn't take Bone Plating into matchups like Riven, matchups like Jax, but they take Second Wind every single game on the Grasp page, and when we watch the laning section, you'll understand why they get a lot of value from playing that low HP playstyle and abusing Second Wind. Now, for Conqueror, they take it very rarely into matchups such as Aatrox, matchups like Nocturne, where they can just brute force big trades onto them. They win short trades anyway, they have access to the extended trades with Conqueror, you don't really need Grasp as badly into those types of matchups, but most of the time they do default to Grasp. And on the Conqueror page, they do take Bone Plating as they play very aggressive level 1, forcing big extended trades, and absorb life over Presence of Mind. Now, I was quite curious about that, but with the Q mana buffs, and also once you have Tiamat, you don't really need Presence of Mind anymore, as your wave clear is going to be good enough after Tiamat, you can clear the wave without spamming spells, and he prefers the extra sustain. Revitalize was an interesting one for me, as a lot of Fiora players take Overgrowth, but Revitalize, as you can see in the upcoming skirmishes we're going to see in the mid-game and the laning phase, when you have Rev Hydra, you get a lot of extra sustain back from Revitalize, especially even early game, you get a little bit. I'd say the early game sustain's not the biggest deal, but with Rev Hydra, you get a lot of extra healing back with this rune, so it does make a lot of sense. It's a lot stronger early game than Overgrowth, relying on scaling, and the extra 200 HP doesn't really make a big difference for you. Now, if you're curious about Conqueror vs Grasp, or the average player that's not playing in rank 3 Korea, I would say default to Conqueror a lot more often if you're playing in ranks below Diamond. Not only do you have more carry potential with Conqueror, you have a lot more solo kill threat in lane as well, so I definitely recommend taking this more often for the average player. However, I still want you to take Grasp in certain matchups, so most range matchups, of course, Grasp is going to make more sense, or certain melees like Jax, it's going to be really hard for you to get big value from your Conqueror, so I would say to default to Grasp a lot of the time, but take Conqueror in matchups such as Garen, such as Mordekaiser, in these lower elo bracket games, as you're going to have way more carry potential and solo kill opportunities. Moving on to Summoner spells, and very similar to his rune page setup, he's very consistent with what he likes to run, and takes TP and Flash in over 95% of his games. The timings where he does take Ignite is into really volatile matchups like Aatrox or Olaf or Darius, where they're forced to fire you and the extra healing cut and combat power goes a long way. Now, keep in mind he doesn't take Ignite every single time he versus these champions, but the most common time is when he has a more supportive jungler, like an Ivern or a Sejuani, he'll take Ignite more often, but if he's playing with some greedy, full-clearing shitstain jungler, a lot of the time he will actually default to TP instead. Moving on to the item builds, and one thing that I really like about this player is just how consistent he is, not just in-game, but the outer-game setup as well, where he's playing the same champion every game, of course, but with really similar runes, summoner spells, and itemization in every game that he plays, so he's really limited the variables and focus purely on the gameplay on his champion. Where a lot of players spend a ton of time trying to min-max your build, your runes, stuff like that, it can distract you a lot from the gameplay. He just builds the same thing pretty much every game. He normally goes D shield in the majority of his matchups, especially with Grasp. He will go D blade really rarely into matchups like Aatrox, where he can play super aggressive early and force big trades, especially if he takes Conqueror. Now, for his first item, he will rush Tiamat whenever he can. The exception to that is if he can't afford it, and sometimes he might go the cooldown hammer or vamp, but very rarely, never vamp, sorry, 550, so he goes Tiamat whenever he can. Sometimes cooldown hammer if he can't afford the 500, but never deviates from that unless he's versus a heavy AP comp and AP top laner. So a Rumble top of Vladimir, a Kali, champs like that, they're the big three. He will go Hex Drinker, especially if they have other AP and their comp. Now, his boots are tabbies or mercs pretty much every single game. He doesn't really cook around with Swifties or with cooldown boots. He normally just goes, of course, Tabby if it's AD top, Merc Treads if it's AP top, but he will go Merc Treads instead of Tabbies if they have really high CC team comp. Now, for his first item, always Rev Hydra, that goes without saying, but the second item, Triforce, is exactly the same, where a lot of Fioras cook a bit with, I'd say, Eclipse or Spear of Shojin, stuff like that. He just goes Triforce every game, he never deviates from that. So I have some examples here of his full builds. The one at the top is what he does most of the time, where his third, fourth item is either going to be Death Stance more, or more Death Stance, really depends on the comp, which makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of survivability with these two items together. You get all the armor and MR that you need, and you get so much HP from Grasp and a little bit from Triforce as well, that having a bunch of resistances like this feels really good on the champion. And then his last item, not always going to be Shojin. He does go when he's snowballing, sometimes Hullbreaker, sometimes GA. It really just depends. Hullbreaker if he wants to play a bit more side lane, GA if they have more upfront burst, but his build is normally the one up the top. The exceptions being, again, like I mentioned with Hullbreaker, if he wants to side lane a bit more, especially if he versus champions that struggle with the Hullbreaker minion, like a Gragas or a Kennen, he'll go Hullbreaker as his fourth item if he feels like he doesn't need the more of Mormortius that badly. It's really hard for them to deal with it. It's really easy for you to play for tier 3s, tier 2s, maybe even inhibitors if you have Hullbreaker up against him, but he doesn't go it earlier than Death Stance. He really values getting DD as his third item, or more if they have a ton of upfront burst. And at the very bottom, really similar if you need MR, go more and then Death Stance, and Shojin as your final item as a great damage choice, but GA if you do need a bit more survivability. Moving on to the laning phase, and we're going to start with one of Fiora's more difficult matchups playing up against a Jace. And one thing I want you guys to keep an eye on as he plays out this matchup is how much value he's getting from second wind. So I'll open it down here so you can keep an eye on it. And in this game, he's got D Shield versus D Blade and second wind versus bone plating, and you're really going to see the difference here in how he utilizes it. So a lot of these trades actually won't be there winning for him. He's making it volatile. Normally making your matchup volatile is going to benefit the melee champion a lot of the time. So he's making it as volatile as he can, even though the trades are slightly losing, because he's going to get more in the end from D-Shield, second win, and a little bit of Revitalize sprinkled in there. So we can see he's fishing for Q-Grasp trades whenever he can, and fishing for that Vital. You can see here, always posturing in a way where he can get it, Q-Auto, but because Jace went W-Start, he has a lot of combat power as well. But it doesn't matter, because second win's going to be way more beneficial for him than bone plating is for Jace in this game. So it goes for the trade here, Jace flashes the W, otherwise he would have died if that hit him, but now Jace is a little bit in more so control of the lane, and if you keep an eye on the minimap, the Fiora's jungler is going down, their jungler is going top, so that is going to affect his matchup too. So we can see fishing for the Vital, Jace isn't giving it, and just trying to keep the wave more so in the center here. Trying to hit it as much as he can, doesn't want to give Jace hard prio an opportunity to reset, so trying to get level 3 first, but also maintain prio, so that Jace can't just crash the wave for free. You can see that, by the way, he's hunting, always looking for that Q trade with Grasp, really fishing, but level 2 versus 3, not the best time for him to go. And very shortly, Lilia is going to pay attention to top, so he goes in wards, around 250, a pretty late ward, but keep in mind Lilia is pretty much never going to gank before she finishes a full clear, so you don't really need to ward that early for a level 3 gank versus Lilia unless you are a free kill, but because he has flash, it's pretty unlikely that she'd kill him if she came level 3, so you can hold on to his ward for a lot longer. So just trimming the wave here, you can see Jace is spacing in a way where he's missing a bit of farm, but he's not giving Fiora an opportunity here, and just trying to poke her down with Shock Blast. So we'll speed up a little bit, we can see Lilia is going to ruin the show very shortly, sweeps the ward out, comes and clears it, so he can't play any more aggressive, and this gives Jace a lot of breathing room to get prio back, as he has to respect the gank here, doesn't want to play too aggressive, so it takes a bit of a trade here. You can see he parries the Jace Q and trying to fish here for auto attacks, but Jace really good spacing by him, ease him away and just keeps him on the back foot. But if you pay attention to the bottom left, you can see almost 250 HP given back from second wind, plus an extra 26 from Revitalize, around 300 HP at this point, and a lot more if you couple in Doran Shield as well. So now he's at the point where the Jace is just too low resources, health and mana wise, to get this wave under tower. Really good support roam as well. Leona coming to counter the Lilia dive, but he flashes in for the kill, able to pick up a nice solo kill up against Jace, despite being weak-sided in this game. And I would say the main takeaway is just how much he's abusing his rune setup. 42 HP from Revitalize may seem like a little bit, but if you combine that with 340 from second wind, the healing from Grasp as well, D-Shield, even though he lost a lot of these trades, it benefits his champion way more because of the setup that he's running. Moving on to our next matchup, he's playing up against Ready to Go on Jax, a really volatile lane. It's definitely Fiora favored, and he plays it extremely well. So you can see he takes a trade right away, so Jax feels pressure to put his E up, and he's able to make it volatile here. So because he feels confident warding the bush here and fighting him on his side, even though Jax is hugging the wall, wall and denying vital. Because Fiora's Q cooldown is significantly shorter than Jax's E, and Jax has to fight in the minion wave, he ends up winning this trade at the end with a nice QE at the end. Q auto, sorry. So to bring it back here, what Jax should have done differently, just in case you're curious, he needs to end his trade in CC. So his E was a little bit quick, he should have just clicked back into this bush here and chilled, let the minion wave settle, so he doesn't have to fight in the wave. So the E was a little bit quick, but it would have been fine if he ended the trade in CC. So stun him and click away. He greeted one extra auto attack in, or if he just started clicking away now, drops the stun damage, damages the wave, he's going to be in a much better position. Fiora would have to poke him on his side of the wave, but because he stops for that auto, walks into this bush and matches the fight, he has to tank the entire wave here, which is why he ended up losing this trade in the end. He just took way too much damage from creeps here. And curious that Fiora didn't take bone plating in this matchup either. But you can see he really likes that low HP playstyle, abusing second wind. Notice he hasn't used his potion yet, because he really wants to abuse second wind here, but Jax already has used it. So there he went for a little space. You saw he clicked towards the Jax to try bait him to use E, and then just spacing with Q, not willing to commit and get beat down by the Jax E here. So trying to trim the wave, trying to match his level 2 timer. Little Qs like that, you can see like a 1-inch Q, so that he can get the grass proc and the poke, but not give Jax any room to auto attack him back or use his E. So that was a good timer to auto attack, because even if Jax put his E up, he could have clicked backwards, so he would have been fine. And then Q auto here, click back, and trying to bait out Jax to use E. He just knows he's not going to die in this timer, feels really confident. You can see he didn't even flash at all. He just slowly got his level 2 and walked up and played for the kill. So main takeaway, the Jax needs to end the trade in CC, mainly play for prio, not make it too crazy level 1. And the main learning from the way Fiora played this one, not afraid to make it volatile, bring the Jax onto her side. Take nice short trades with Q the whole time. You can see the tiny 1-inch Qs where Jax can't really do anything about it. Get Jax lower and lower before you go for that all-in. For our next matchup, he's playing up against a Set, and this is actually the best Set player in the world at the moment. Rank 1 Korean Set, extremely good at the champion. You'll notice the Set actually matched the grass page as well, as it's really hard to get full Conqueror value versus a good Fiora player. He's just going to space you out, so grass is going to be able to let him match that short trading. So you can see here, our Fiora player trying to get prio as much as he can, but nice short trades. Doesn't want to give Set any double auto trades, just nice short ones like that, ending the trade as quickly as he can. I want to touch on this vital here. I would say probably 99 Fiora players out of 100 would go for a wide arch here to guarantee that vital. But you can see his distance of Q. He's getting the maximum distance that you can still get the vital, but not overextend yourself. If he went to around here, Set would get 2 autos and probably a W onto him, but because he did that the shortest range Q possible to still get that vital, he's able to disengage it very, very easily, and Set's not able to get any damage down in response. So really impressive stuff there, looking to abuse his level 2, but Set is respecting on this timer. So nice slow push here, trying to stack this wave together, and if Set walks up, he's going to go for the vital, as you'll see very shortly. So Q auto, one thing as well, he's really disciplined with his W there. He didn't W on this trade right away, because then Set could have gone for an EW onto him if his W was on cooldown, so he held it instead so that he could parry that W damage. So slow pushing this wave, it can be quite tricky to 2-wave crash on Fiora if your opponent is playing aggressive, or at the very least matching your aggression like the Set's doing, so he slows it down and goes for a 3-wave instead, getting a ward as well, just in case Rek'Sai ganks, so pretty smart all around. Here he's waiting for his level 3, I feel like he's shadowing a little bit, waiting for his level 3 before he goes for this trade, but because Set pulled him in, really easy timer for him to go. So we can see a nice little short trade, auto W. I really like that combo there as well. So we'll go back to it, didn't lead with parry here. You can see auto E, W, auto Q. Right, really quick trade, really good burst of damage, and not really taking any damage in response there. So there, really good spacing by Set, abusing his extra Q range, and then pulls him in, takes a tower shot. So the Set player is also playing quite well. Now the wave's in a little bit of an awkward state, so you can see he's letting the wave come back to him, trying to pull the wave out a little bit. He did fish for that vital there, unfortunate, but he has the right idea, trying to pull the wave a little bit away from tower, but not too much to the point where Set will get prio up against him. So he's still hitting the wave as much as he can, trying to play aggressive. One thing I really like is his W discipline. Here he's not using W for a really long time holding it, and Set is also holding it. Set goes for the flash in, gets his W down. You can see no panic at all, no flash for the vital, just nice calm steps, walking down, pre-moving on the bottom vital as well. So we'll go back to this kill. We can see here a lot of Fiora players with W straight away. He holds onto it for a long time. Set does as well, and then Set goes for the insta flash E, which is impossible to react to, EW auto, but he W's just before the auto comes in, and now he's able to walk to this vital, and you can see he's already going to be moving down as he kills this vital, anticipating a bottom left vital. You can see here, already pre-moving, able to get the vital too, and able to pick up the kill. So really knows his limits. You can see 2 games in a row versus Jackson against Sid. He didn't feel panicked to flash or anything like that when they were both low HP. Really comfortable in the situation. So Set TP's back here. Base matches the TP and looking to play aggressive right away. So W in the set W, not wanting to take damage from that, and just keep poking him down. You can see nice spacing with Q, nice short trades that style, and extra autos when he can. There, he did fail the Q, it was the right idea, so he's going to have to play a little bit different now, Q and W on cooldown. So we can see he's going to be pre-moving on this Vital, looking for an opportunity to go for it, but Set's walking away, trying to drop it, not give him that chance, but he's matching the movement here. So you can see, even though some of these Qs are missing, right, no Fiora player is going to hit every Q, the idea is really solid. If he Qs in right here, he's going to get beat up by Set. So this Q was almost the maximum distance he could go without losing Q and still get the Vital. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit too long. But still goes in for the Vital in the end, level 5 versus 4, and parrying that Set W. Really good if you can fight Set away from the minion wave, no way you can get stunned, so it's really easy for you to parry his W damage. So you can see nice short trade here, really looking to beat him down while Set's W is on cooldown, and able to get a nice trade. He's not really afraid of tower shots, maybe he should be, but the second wind is going to come in clutch later on. So I'll speed up a little bit, he just slow pushes this big wave, and then walks up for a dive. So because Set has pulled him into tower a couple of times, he anticipated it, Q in, used W right after, and able to pick up almost a nice kill, 1 HP, but then flash and finishes him off. For our next matchup, he's playing up against a Gnar, and as you can see, same setup as usual, second wind D-shield, and looking to make this lane as volatile as he can. The Gnar did have a really good level 1 plan though, double jumping to deny Vital, warding the bush, a really good start from him, but he extended the trade a little bit too long. Fiora's Q cooldown is going to be shorter than most top laners' spells, and you can see here, his Q came back up, and he's able to get a winning trade in the end. So good level 1 plit trade from Gnar. He needed to end the trade a bit quicker and then walk in with his next minion wave here to not get that low. However, because Fiora won the trade so hard, you can see still poking down with grass whenever she can. The Echo player is invaded and looking to dive top on the next wave. You can just see straight from the level 1 go, he pre-planned his matchup so well that walking behind him, making it volatile even versus a good Gnar player, a challenger Korean player, who also had a good plan. He knows making it volatile is going to benefit him way more, even if Echo is pathing down, as most junglers probably would. This is still a really unplayable scenario for Gnar to be in the 1v1. So we can see now that Gnar's sitting under tower, he's going to be queuing the max range of tower as well from that queue. So he just knows the edge of the tower range there. Any closer and he takes a tower shot for that one. He does get it wrong sometimes. You'll see in other examples he takes a few tower shots, but I'd say has a pretty good idea of how deep he can queue without taking a shot most of the time. So wave 3 here, trying to get this in as quick as he can. It's going to be the standard for him. Most of the time he goes for a wave 3 crash, which makes a lot of sense. Fiora's wave clear is pretty terrible. So approaching this dive, playing it really slowly, Gnar jumps in, so he's able to just auto Q, jump back, and Echo picks up the kill and already winning the lane straight away. And for our final matchup, he's playing up against a Warwick, so everyone's favorite lane opponent in the game, I guarantee it. And we can see here his plan's very different. Walk in with the wave level 1, ward the bush, and he's also switched up his rune page. So he's got the Conqueror with bone plating page here. The reasoning behind it, short trades don't really matter up against Warwick, he's happy to be low HP. It's better to have Conqueror, to have more burst later on, and more side lane 1v1 scaling also. You can see he's being very cautious not to take any damage, as again, Warwick's happy to get poked, so Q, click away, and just get Warwick lower and lower without taking any damage in response here. The next Q will be the exact same thing, you can see max range distance, click away, not willing to take damage here. Now that the next Vital's here, he can finally use his bone plating to get a favorable trade, so already off to a really good start. For people that verse Warwick fairly often, you know that this early on into the lane, if you're not already half HP, you're having a really good time, as Warwick normally just makes it crazy, but because he was spacing and he warded the bush, stuff like that, his game planning kept him at high HP here. So we'll speed up a little bit, he's going to have to respect the level 2, so not a lot he can do in this situation, not even worth to queue for that Vital, as if he tanked a Q auto and a couple more autos, he'd be really far behind in terms of HP. So here I liked his idea, he anticipated the Warwick Q, and he ripped the Vital straight away. The Warwick either anticipated the parry, or he just held on to Q for whatever reason, so it didn't end up working, but a good idea in the end. If he did parry that Q, the trade would have been very, very good for him. So we can see the wave's in a nice state for him where he can just roughly farm, but Warwick can just brute force his wave in, so he's not going to be able to hold it there for long. So pushes this wave out, and now looking to take these short trades again, just nice short max range Q trades where he doesn't really take it damage in response here. Versus Warwick, this is the goal. You can't really do anything against him in the early game. When you build Healing Cut, you can have a bit more options later on, but during the 1 to 3, it doesn't really matter if he's low HP or not. It's mainly just you staying high HP yourself, picking up as much farm as you can, and slowly poking him along the way just to give yourself some breathing room here. Because Warwick, if he's low HP, he has to hit the wave a lot to heal, which means he's going to be pushing the wave towards you. So poking doesn't do nothing. It makes it so he just can't let the wave come back towards him and freeze it on you, as he does need to be healing off that wave there. So we can see he's just trying to pick up farm. He's trying to predict the Q yet again. This Warwick player is quite good at holding it, but the trade is still fine nonetheless. So now he's going to go for the Q because he's under tower. Warwick can't do anything about it, and just play off his next parry cooldown. So pushing out this wave, Warwick went for a roam, as a lot of Warwick players do, so he just hard push and based. This is one of the rare times where he deviated from his Rav Hydra Rush and went for Healing Cut. The only 2 matchups where he does this is Warwick and Zac. That is a pretty consistent rule for most players that I would recommend that you follow. So Chippys back to lane here, it's got his Healing Cut. Now he can play out the matchup. Q auto pops the W onto him, and he's able to pick up a nice kill here. Waits out the barrier. You can see just standing there waiting. Times the Q perfectly for just as the barrier expires, and able to pick up the kill. So we'll go back to it. Warwick tried to fear him under tower. He ended up mistiming it, so a little bit unlucky from Warwick here. Q auto pops the W there. Clicks backwards. I really like that he waited. Held his auto attack off. Held his Q. Waiting for the shield to drop off. And starts his Q animation before the barrier shield's even fallen. But times it perfectly so he gets the Q auto and bursts him in the end. So really good stuff. I'd say the Live 1 game planning was the most impressive, spacing Warwick the whole time, letting the wave come to him, and not losing any HP that he didn't need to. And to wrap up our guide, we're going to be going through the mid-game macro. Now this is one of the more simple parts of Fiora, so I tried to pick a game where she's pretty even, so pretty equal up against this Aatrox, same score pretty much, same items, and trying to pull people away from Dragon. So everyone's fighting for Dragon, it's better for her to make Aatrox make a choice. Way better team fighting champion than her. Either you have to answer me top, or I'm going to get the tier 2. So pushes in top, makes Aatrox answer, wards up the enemy jungle before she went for the tower. You can see she'll often sit on the yellow trinket here so that they can ward up the enemy jungle and then just eat camps after the wave. So wave into camp, or wave into tower if the enemy top doesn't respond properly. In some games, if he's far enough ahead, he will poke the enemy top under tower and try to play for it, try to kill them and play for it. But in this game, perfectly even with the Aatrox, no real way to do that. So pushes in the wave yet again. This is how he maintains such good CS per minute. You can see pretty close, not quite at 10 CS per minute because he started 3 times, but relatively high there. So wave into camp, again making it so Aatrox can never leave. Here he made a pretty major mistake. He initially wanted to recall, spend his gold, but there was a fight nearby. Would have been better for him just to backping this off, but he did get a little bit unlucky here, so goes for the Vital. You notice he doesn't ulti straight away. He tries to collect all the easy Vitals first, parried the W, gets the final Vital, and then pops his ulti. So really good by him, but he unfortunately got blast coned into the team. Gets killed here. It's a little bit unlucky. So we'll skip it a little bit. We don't really care about what happens here. And he's going to be going the exact same thing again. TPing bottom, looking to create that pressure. So pushes in this wave here. Plays for the camp if it was them. Into the tower, make Aatrox answer, and fog into the enemy jungle. Now, one thing that's good about him is he doesn't just tunnel on only side laning. If he's not making any progress inside, he will fog to a play. So here a team fight was happening, and he wasn't making any progress against that Aatrox, so he decided to join in this team fight. Now, he wasn't needed in the end, but he is very impactful, I would say, all around as a player, not just tunneling to only split pushing, but definitely not under-splitting either, and falling behind in farm. You can see here around 175 at 20, gonna be a little bit higher if you get some of this camp, but in a game where he doesn't have 4 deaths, his CS is normally a lot higher than this. So we can see him, pushes in the top wave, basing, trying to get his Triforce as soon as he can, and then right back onto the map, same thing again. Dragon is up next. He hovered initially to see if there was a fight, but then straight back to top, looking to pull people away. So here, the Aatrox didn't answer him in time, so he was able to get this tier 2, kills the wave, and then looks to pressure the tier 3. His main goal is not just the towers, it's pressure. Pull people away from where they want to be, pulling the Zac, the Aatrox, all of them, making it really uncomfortable for them to fight his teammates without having to split up and deal with him here. You can see now that he's got a lead from splitting so much in power, eating all the camps, level 15 versus 13. This is what we were talking about before. When he's ahead, pokes the opponent under tower, chips away at them, tries to play for tower, but he knows somebody was going to answer him, judging by the way that he was playing. So anticipating that, not Draven specifically, but someone was going to gank him there, and decides just to back off, eat the crab, eat the midwave as well. You can see just vacuums all the resources on the map, trying to get really far ahead. So you can see he's caught up to the clock almost at 10 CS per minute style, while maintaining pressure the entire time. So basing, going straight to bottom here, trying to go opposite side of Otacant, the next objective, and again, same thing as well. One thing that he does better than most, granted he is playing in Korean solo queue with good players, is overloading side. So having people gank for him, wherever he pings it, or they just see the angle and go, and looking to explode the game through side. Really good skill to do on Fiora, as you're normally bad at team fighting in a lot of games. So if you give an objective, normally like a dragon or something, and dive somebody top, it's going to be a better strategy most of the time, but because it is solo queue, you shouldn't rely on your team for that consistently, but it is good to ping for it. So pushes in bottom here, his Silas does just that, comes to the lane for him, and able to easily put this Aatrox in a uncomfortable situation. You'll see, fogs around here, makes it so Aatrox can't see him, pokes him under tower. So just like we were talking about before, just keep chipping away at them under tower until he has freedom to break the tower out from under them. And now level 16, almost 10 CS per minute, in a much better position than when we started this mid-game review. Now to wrap it up, we're going to be going through an example of how he plays in mid-game when he's ahead. So you notice when he versed Aatrox and he was even, he just pushed in the wave and 8 camps, he couldn't make progress. But when he was ahead, he did. He poked him under tower, he made people answer him, made it really volatile down here as well. Same thing in this game up against Warwick, has a really big lead, Ravenous Hydra fits recurve bow, so of course that's what he's going to do. TP's top right away, no interest in TPing anywhere else, and just makes it super volatile. With Rev Hydra and Revitalize at this point, you can just heal to full HP off the wave very easily, after trading HP with your opponent, taking tower shots, it doesn't matter, so this is making progress. In a realistic amount of time, you can kill the enemy top and get the tower, so it's way better for him to do that than to just do wave and run to the jungle and eat a camp. He's making meaningful progress here, pulling people around as well, making the jungle and mid answer him. So even if Warwick lives a little bit longer, still really impactful, pulling their team away. Here he plays for Void Grubs as well. One thing I noticed about him actually is the games where he wins very decisively and does very well, he normally has a lot of Void Grubs, normally 6 Void Grubs. And of course that makes sense. If your top lane's doing well in lane, very easy to get them. But the reason I bring it up, if you are going to be planning to play Fiora, make sure you play heavily around Grubs, ping your jungler to play for them, because Fiora is probably one of the best champs in the game to have 6 Void Grubs on. So able to get the kill there, and initially is going to base, but he decided to stay and greed for an entire Triforce, as you'll see very shortly. So pushing in the wave, making Ari answer. A lot of people are scared to pressure TF3, but he's definitely not. Maintaining great farm, you can see over 10 CS per minute, and keeping the enemy mid laner stuck here. So wave into jungle camp, mid wave if it's there. The reason he went for mid air is tower plates are still up, so he just brute forced the tower plates down with 6 Void Grubs, so good by him, and then straight back to top, eating camps along the way of course. So able to get his Triforce here, you can see it 13 minutes into the game. His strategy is very similar, whether ahead, even, or behind. But if he's ahead, he really puts on the pressure and makes it really uncomfortable for the enemy top laner to stay under the tower, unless his teammates bail him out and protect him the whole time.